Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426 and today we have the review of Fujinmaru from the latest or updated series of the Wataru lineup. So the latest series that that I was able to stumble upon recently was the Mashin creator Wataru series. Now in Korea this thing had an entirely different name, but once again I'm not gonna get into that too deep. But once again it's one of the first few how should I say robot anime I saw as a kid when I came back from the US to Korea, and this is a time where I didn't even know how to speak or read or understand Korean, so kind of sentimental value to me. Alright, so once again I was able to somehow watch the latest series, and I was kind of surprised at how much the world has changed in terms of not in terms of the anime, but like how technology and then how like the concepts are now being seen in the anime and animes which never really been shown in the older ones. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So once again, I was able to buy four of these kits. So I have Fujinmaru, I have Tenchomaru, I have Jugomaru, and finally Ryuyomaru. So I wasn't able to get Fujinmaru due to some of my personal reasons. But once again, yeah, I kind of failed to get one. But so instead of that, I was able to get Ryuyomaru, which is basically an upgraded version of Fujinmaru, but like a power-up. So anyway, yeah, I got these kits. I wasn't expecting much, but once again, after opening the box, I was very amazed by the kit. So number one, at least for this kit, there are no stickers. No stickers were actually used at this, and then color separation is very well done. And then the fact that, sure, granted, it's a little bit short than your typical gunpla, but it's like the level of roughly about, I think it's safe to say this is like HG level of building. And then once again, it has a good amount of articulation. Granted, there are some parts that I would recommend that you be careful because I wouldn't say they're easy to snap, but you might actually damage the kit. Granted, even though you damage it, it wouldn't really affect the kit itself. But once again, yeah. So I'm really amazed. Granted, there are some parts that that you need to kind of color. That's kind of like at this point you have to take it for granted for now because of the limitations on certain areas. But anyway, let's see what we got. So, Fujinmaru, this is basically a unit that is used by one of the main characters, not main character, but like basically that is used by an important character. Yeah, not the main, but the important character called. Now you won't believe the name of this guy, called Offline, and then he has basically a twin clone kind of character called Online. So go figure. So anyway, as you can see, it's a robot. It's actually meant to be piloted, and then he has the power of wind. So it's like each unit has like their own advantage or like elemental strengths or a certain aspect strength as well. So as you can see, this guy is wind. Now one thing for sure, like even in the anime, they have if you look at the anime, the design here on the back, there is this kind of wind like element design here. Now I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like actually a piece, like a solid piece, or this is just like supposed to be a wind effect, because even in the anime, every time I see this guy, it's always been confusing for me. But anyway, I really like this character and this robot because I think this is supposed to be a reference to, from the original series, there's also always this old samurai guy that he's always trying to call up his robot but never comes when he needs to. So yeah, I think it's a really nice reference, and it was really funny because every time he tries to summon this guy, so apparently the main character, the characters and this robot machine or machine unit, they're making some kind of a contract in a similar way. So they have to negotiate on how to summon each other as well. So this guy constantly changes like methods, from calling from a phone booth, you're writing the kanji wind with his butt, or using like flare signals, all sorts of stuff. So it's always funny to see how it changes. But once again, let's see what we got. So once again, just to give you guys, how should I say this? Now, I don't have a good example to show you, but once again, it's not as tall as a typical HG kit. I'll try to bring out a proper sample while doing the review. So anyway, let's see what we got. So once again, I would like to mention here, there are no stickers used at all in here. Everything you see is part separated, even the eyes. So let's go over components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously Fujinmaru, the unit itself. Now you do get two sets of katanas, but instead of like always holding them, you do have the sheaths that are that are connected to the shoulder armor here, so they can move up and down as well. And I would say they are actually in a pretty convenient place, actually, which doesn't really which shouldn't affect you. If they were to be on the legs, it would be getting in the way. But in this case, I would say they've used a pretty good spot. The only leftover piece you get is this, which is some kind of a shield holding piece, which I think this is like is always on a runner that's used by every kid in the series. So yeah, I think this is supposed to be for either Fujinmaru or Ryumaru. We'll have to see for myself. But for now, this is not used by this, so it's a leftover piece. Hand-wise, you only get one set of hands, the multi-purpose hand, so no open hands or anything, so keep that in mind. And then the two katanas I would like to mention here. They're kind of stiff. So they would come in pure yellow. So basically this thing would be entirely the same color as this handle. I decided to bring out a metallic chrome, a silver chrome Gundam marker and color it. Now apparently I guess I haven't used the marker a long time, so I'm not really getting that chrome feel, but it did give out the how should I say, the metallic silver feel as well. So I'm kind of satisfied with that as well. So yeah, so you get two of these as well. Alright, so for now, let me get the katanas out and let's see what we got. Alright, so let's start with the head. Now, the head is pretty well made. Now, the ball joint size, I guess it's not the stiffest, so it is on the, a little bit, not too loose, but it's not the point where it's falling off, but I would say, I wish it would be a little bit more on the stiffer. But once again, it's there, and I do like the overall head design here. It definitely screams that this guy has the elemental power of wind. So it can go down that much. That's actually pretty a lot, and then going up not so much, and then going 360, I'm not gonna say it's possible because of the overall the proportions and stuff, and the head being big as well. So yeah, and then on the back of the head you have this hair-like thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of when it comes to mecha, but once again you can kind of adjust it by rotating it if you want to do so. So yeah. Alright, now let's get the shoulder armors as well. So shoulder, the way how this works, the armor is actually attached to the arms, so keep that in mind. So you do have a butterfly joint as well. So you can see, you can pop out the joint there to go out more, and then the arm itself is connected to plastic ball joints. Now keep in mind there is no polycaps in here, so yeah. So in the long run, this should last a little bit longer. So once again, you do have a nice joint articulation there, and going 360 should be possible, and then making the arms go to the side 90 degrees is also possible because the shoulder armor has the space. And once again, the sheath being on the back doesn't really affect the articulation as much as you think. And then I believe you should be now don't try to rotate this because the overall design here, now I believe the top section should be able to rotate, but once again, make sure you don't rotate the bottom section because it's not meant to rotate because of how the armor is designed and connect to each other as well. Now, in theory, it should be able to spin, but I do not suggest that because the way how this peg is a little bit, it looks a little bit deeper than you think. So once again, it doesn't really have much clearance to do so. And then the hands are technically on pegs here, but there's also a ball jointed piece here, a plastic ball joint style piece. So sometimes when you're pulling out the hand, you might actually pull out that ball joint at the same time, depending on the kit. Now this one didn't happen to me yet, but there was another kit that I recently finished, and sometimes when I'm pulling off the hand, the joint also came out together. So keep that in mind. And once again, the hands are pretty simple. It's one of those 3-finger type mecha hands as well, and definitely I believe like most of the Wataru series mechs, they have these like claw-like fingers as well. So yeah, pretty cool as well. So in this case, for the katana, you can just plug it in, but depending on the weapon, there are some units that you have to take off the handguard and do the thing. So yeah, go figure. And then bend wise, you get about a 90-degree bend, slightly more than 90 degrees, but once again, for the design, I think this is enough for what it is. Alright, now let's look at the body. Now the body is actually from the middle to the bottom, there is actually a ball joint connection here, and then on the top there is another type of connection which I forgot what it was. But once again, you do get a nice ab crunch design here, despite being like a very SD-esque, design here. So once again, for the build level, if you built an HG kit before, you should be able to build this without no problem. If you built an SD kit, it might take a little bit longer than the typical SD kit, but once again, you should be able to build it with no problem as well. And heck, I wish actually Gunpla SD kits like the SD Knights or Musha Gundams would actually like be in this style and size as well with articulation. But that's just me. Alright, so you do get a decent amount, and then the top section can actually rotate 360. Now the bottom section, because it is technically a ball joint, should be able to rotate 360 in theory, but once again mine was extremely stiff, so you can see it's barely moving. But once again, yeah, the top, when you try to rotate it, the top section is the one that's supposed to rotate, so keep that in mind. And now let's look at the legs. Once again, the legs cannot, I wouldn't say it exactly can do a split because of the way how the design is. These are actually connected to, once again, plastic ball joints. If I remember correctly, yep, these are plastic ball joints as well. Now, there is no side swivel because it may look like there's some kind of a separate piece here, but that's not the way how it works. But you do get a little bit of a, you know, a wiggle there, so keep that in mind. And then going to front 90 degrees, backwards 90 degrees should be possible. Spread, not really, I mean possible, but not fully 90 degrees as well. And then there should be a bend. Yeah, despite the way how the legs look, there is a little bit of bend here. And then a plastic ball jointed feet here that is supposed to look like samurai sandals, if I understood this correctly. So yeah. Alright, and then finally looking at the back, once again, this ornament here, there's not much it moves, but it is a really cool looking ornament so far. Like, I don't think I've seen wind like related elements in terms of effect parts. So yeah, it could be a first time thing for everything. Alright, so once again, I'll be right back with a sample to compare and with the weapons attached to the hand, and we'll end it off there. Okay, I'm back. So here we have a quick comparison with a typical 1:144 scale HD gunpla kit. So once again, obviously the height difference is kind of obvious, but once again, when you compare the chunkiness, you know, maybe in terms of mass that they use or the amount of plastic, it may be the same or kind of similar amount, depending on how you look at it and depending on what kit you are like comparing with to each other. So yeah, hopefully this helps you out on terms of like how tall these things are or how bulky they are. So yeah. And once again, holding the katanas in the hands are pretty easily. You can just plug the you know, swords into the hands and you should be good as well. And once again, finally, a small aspect I kind of always forget to mention in terms of reviewing kits. Now, despite how these guys look like, yeah, there is actually an action-based, you know, connector here. So once again, you can connect them and do all sorts of poses if you want to do so as well. Now, granted, these guys don't all fly around. There are actually flyers in the series, but once again, I believe this guy doesn't actually fly. He does have an ability which allows him to float for a while, I guess, for his finisher move using the wind tunnels effect thing. But once again, that's that. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the review. This was the review of Fujinmaru. Now, keep in mind, even in the box or manual, there's no mention of like an HD or a grade level or scale. So if you want to figure that out, go figure in terms of skill. Maybe go to the wiki and compare it to the size and height difference between the kits. Build level, it's definitely, if you on more of the HD side, if you ask me, a little bit more on the easier HD. So once again, building them should be no problem. And then the fact that this kit has 0 stickers, I would say that's a pretty good big bonus as well. Anyway, if you guys got any questions or requests, leave them comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.